Imaginarium Theater Season 3 is now out, and I thought I'd provide a list of some units that you should consider having a look at to clear this new season with ease. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. So, this theater season is centered around Pyro, Hydro, and Dendro. Burgeon and Burning, anyone? Let's take to the roster and see who will fit this season best. Before we start, I received a very valid criticism on my last video like this, but I didn't focus on 4 stars and more accessible characters enough, with too much emphasis on limited characters. It's a very valid criticism to make, so I'm going to emphasize 4-star units more in this video, and I'll cover the limited 5-star options near the end of each section. I will add that you can always borrow a 5-star from a friend, even if you don't own the character yourself. So if there's a character that you'd like to try in this video that isn't on your account, you can always ask a friend to put them on their help menu. With that out of the way, let's delve right into things. For Pyro Units, it'd be foolish of me to not discuss Toma at all. Great Burgeon unit, which is why I definitely think he's worth your time. The nice thing is that when you build Toma, you're not just leveling him up for the sake of qualifying for theater. He has plenty of useful applications outside of being a good unit in this game mode as well. I mean, shoot, just look at the most recent example of this. Mualani came out very recently, and he's an amazing shielder for her. This is because Toma consolidates so many roles into one. Pyro application, shielding, and solid personal damage with his Burgeon cores if you choose to hone in on building EM, which you should already be doing in my opinion. Also, if you have a C6, he buffs normal attack damage by 15%. It's not got a very long uptime, but it's a really cool additional boost to have on top of everything else that good old Thomas over here provides. All of his constellations from 2 to 6 provide him massive benefits in general. Even so, he's amazing right out of the gate at C0, and it's not like he's only useful for Mualani teams. He is pretty good for Ayato Burgeon as well, and what's cool is that both of the units I just mentioned are able to stack up his shield pretty consistently, as his shield gains more strength the more normal attacks that the on-field protected character does. This is also good for Overlord Clorand, and that's relevant because Clorand is a special guest star this time around. You can even play him in a more budget Burgeon team, and you'll be fine trying to clear the earlier stages of Imaginarium Theater. Xiangling is obviously a must build, but I feel like most people watching this video that have played the game for a long time have already built Xiangling, or decided to avoid building her even with the knowledge of how good she is for personal reasons. So this is more directed to new players that aren't too aware of her power level yet. She's one of the strongest 4-stars in the game, constantly gaining new use cases, who can be either a powerful Pyro sub-DPS or a really solid Pyro applicator. She can do both at the same time, but C4 is undeniably a massive increase for this character's gameplay feel and uptime. It's also a direct DPS increase, as more uptime on her most highly powerful ability obviously equals more damage. However, she is still more than worth your time at C0, free unit that provides bucket loads of limited character tier value. Bennett is another obvious must, and a fun thing is that if you have his C6, then you can on-field any unit with uninfused normals, so that you can apply more elements for more reactions if necessary. Chevris is worth checking out because of Clorand and Raiden both being special guest stars, so you can run their overload teams which are very formidable in terms of DPS. Even in a season that isn't specifically catered to her, Chevris is cooking. Good for her. Also, she's great out of the box at C0, but I can't ignore how good Chevris' C6 is. Seriously man, mine's stuck at C0, when are you gonna put her back on banners again, Hoyo? Diluc was also recently free from the standard 5-star selector, which should still be up right now for those of you who haven't chosen your standard yet. Diluc is nice since if you chose him, then voila, you've got yourself another qualifying Pyro unit for the season, and if you're an old timer in this game, then you've probably built him up a long time ago and replaced him with other modern Pyro DPSs that do better now. Well, since theater needs many elements to work, you can bust out your wine hater again. Granted, he will be a lot weaker than his peak potential form, because you can't bring Xian Yun with you this season, and Xian Yun was Diluc's main savior, so keep that in mind, but I'd say he's still worth playing as a traditional vape DPS this season. For the record, this does mean a C6 Gaming would beat Diluc, as while Gaming also really wants Xian Yun, he's definitely less reliant on her. In terms of limited characters, Arlecchino is definitely the star of a show that you want to look out for. Because she's so highly adaptable to 1 more billion different teams, you'll find that she can solo a stage even if you have to pair her up with the most nonsense combo of characters that you could pair together. How about Hydros? Xingqiu is an obvious answer. Once again, I'm mostly emphasizing this for newer players, please build your Xingqiu. I'm not saying what you can and can't do, of course, if you don't want to, that's fine, but it'd be disingenuous for me not to recommend him because of how formidable he is across so many different teams. He will make whatever nonsense you're conditioned to play due to the strange nature of Theater's randomizer so much more tolerable to use. Older players already know all of this, but I'm sure that some of you may have benched him after getting Farina and Yalan, which yeah, fair enough. But I'd even pick him back up again for Theater since you need so many units to clear it. Candace is also a really nice pick to build this time around because of how many good buffs she's gotten over the years. She's plenty good with other playable units this season, such as Nilou, Arlecchino, and Mualani, and her normal attack buffing is pretty nice on the whole. Really cool to see this unit finally gain some usability, plus she's decent in the Spiral Abyss too with all of those teams that I just mentioned. No need to fully max her out either, 61 out of 70 is fine to unlock her A4 and then move on. You don't have to level her burst either, as a 20% buff is fixed no matter her talent level. Leveling her more may benefit Candace's A4 however, which appreciates her having more HP. In any case, good unit on the whole. As for limited 5 stars, I'm gonna shine a spotlight on Mualani. She utilizes Burn Vape better than any other Hydra unit in this game, besides debatably Nervalette. It's one of her main team archetypes, and this theater was obviously designed around both her and later on Kenichi. Hoyoverse definitely wants to sell her. Obviously don't pull for a limited 5-star only for Imaginarium Theater, as in my opinion, you should want to use the character in the Abyss as well to justify pulling for them, considering how expensive a limited 5-star can be. You'll be happy to know that Mualani performs quite well in the Spiral Abyss, and I personally look forward to seeing what she's capable of doing in an Abyss that's more tailored to your kit and abilities. Kirara is the easiest Dendro unit for me to recommend, because she was recently free during the 4.8 summertime event. So was that awesome skin of hers. Definitely one of the best 4-star skins that they've ever given out, but anyways. She's a solid Dendro shielder that can help protect from Burgeon self-damage, and is applicable in many different kinds of teams with a cheap build. She's not hard to equip, and works right out of the box. Very befitting of Kirara, funnily enough, and will apply enough Dendro to keep you satisfied at C4. Good unit. She also has some uses in the Abyss as a Dendro comfort option in Aggravate teams, and as a lower end option in Mualani teams. Keep in mind that she's greatly outclassed by Nahida and Emily in those scenarios though. Kale is also free, and while I consider her to pretty much only be a Nilou unit, funnily enough, Hydro is also in this season, so by extension that also means that Nilou is in this season. She'll be a very strong teammate for her, and while it's only one formidable use case, Kale is a free character so it felt worth mentioning in my opinion. Also, friendly reminder that if you need an extra unit in order to participate in theater, you can change the Traveler's element to one that you can use for that specific season. I'd say Dendro is your best bet in this case, since it's universally agreed upon that DMC is the strongest storm that is approaching, and the strongest Traveler form as well. DMC will fill pretty much all of your action-packed Dendro needs. Tainari was recently free from the standard 5-star selector as well, and he's more so good to use if you need more Dendro units to fill out your theater roster. I'd actually say he's not that great this time around, because you can't pair him with Fisho, Yaimiko, or Setos. Nah, I'm just kidding with that last one. But seriously, you can't use him with his ideal Electro teammates, so my man Greg Heffley won't be spreading murder throughout the lands very effectively. You can use him if you have him, but use him for the lower, easier stages of theater, and save your more effective team cores that have actual synergy for the more difficult challenges near the end. In terms of limited 5 stars, I'm gonna recommend Emily. She was recently on banners during 4.8, and with the first two not on 5 stars eating up Burgeon for breakfast, Emily is naturally a pretty good teammate for them. Kenichi isn't out yet, but it isn't rocket science to figure out that he'll be burning or Burgeon related when that's the only thing that'll hive him. The most flexible Dendro DPS ever cannot do. She'll work really well in both burning only teams while still being highly formidable in Burgeon setups, and on the whole has excellent synergy with this season. Plus, she feels really good to use in multi-wave, plus, she also works very well with Mualani, who is the current Hydro 5-star on banners. Not to mention that Mualani herself is also very tailored to this specific theater season. A match made in heaven, I tell you. I hope this video served as a more accessible guide than the last one, and if you're happier with this, then please let me know down below so that I can continue to proceed like this for future Imaginarium Theater seasons. Provide your feedback down below, it really does help me develop my content for the better. With that being said, I didn't mention the really obvious ones like Nervalette, Farina, and Yolan, because I think that everyone and their mother understands that those lot will be good. They're good anywhere, they're good everywhere. They're literally all top 5 meta characters. I wanted to shine a spotlight on characters that are accessible, solid at lower constellations, and have good applications in either the Spiral Abyss or other aspects of the game. Hopefully this video is able to tell you who to build for this season of Imaginarium Theater. This has been Juice, signing out, and I'm still waiting for them to add a Venti, Farina, or Arlecchino pose to this pose shop thing. Please, Hoyo, I really like these poses.